Welcome to Mediator Musings. The podcast series is produced by Mediation Institute to provide a self-serve way for dispute resolution students and professionals to consider basic and more advanced concepts related to our work. I'm Joanne, Director of Mediation Institute. I'll often be joined on these talks by Ken Speakman, our Director of Applied Learnings, and other Mediation Institute members or mediation industry professionals. We'll be sharing our insights about what makes mediation such an effective way of de-escalating and resolving disputes and the art and science of mediation. You can join the conversation on Facebook on the Mediator Musings Facebook group. Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Joanne from Mediation Institute and with me is Ken Speakman, also our Director of Applied Learning from Mediation Institute. Today we're going to talk about frames. Now, we're not talking about glass frames. We are in a way talking about picture frames, but metaphorical pictures. Would that be the case, Ken?
Yeah. And how projections work with it as well.
Yeah, so frames and projections. Perhaps maybe it would be good if we start with a bit of a definition of what we mean by perceptual frames.
Okay, this is all conceptual, so I've got to go with it. But basically, when we meet a person for the first time, we have an empty photo frame of that person. And as we start interacting with that person, so we're putting little jigsaw puzzle pieces in of that person, our perceptions of what we're viewing them doing, how they react. And over time, we can build up a pretty comprehensive picture of this person and how they react, what they do, what their beliefs are, and what have you, so we can work with them in a peaceful way. That's how a frame works. And the more information we have, the more complete that picture becomes.
Okay. And what about if we don't have all that information? We have to make decisions about someone.
Yeah, so basically what happens here is, let's go back to something simple like a dog example. Like I love puppy dogs with a passion, and I know, Joanne, you've got a dog.
I do.
You do, named Bruce. Yes. And it's a good name for a dog, I think, actually. It's a real name rather than some toy.
Even though he's a scaredy cat dog.
Sounds tough. So if I don't know how you react to dogs, or know nothing about your interaction with dogs or beliefs about dogs or anything, so I've got this grey area in the frame with no picture in it, what most people tend to do is say, I love dogs, therefore you'll love dogs, and they project this missing piece onto your frame.
Yeah.
So I could say, hypothetically, I know if Bruce comes along and puts his head on your lap, you'll pat him, because that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Now, if you had an incident with a dog when you were young and terrified of dogs, or whatever reason you don't like dogs, then if Bruce came along and put his head on your lap, you'd like to shoo him away rather than pat him. Now, if I think you're going to pat and you shoo him away, I think, well, what a terrible person you are. It's only a puppy.
Yeah, but I've got my black pants on and I have an important interview and he's very blonde and sheddy. So
that's not good.
I'm going to push him away. He's not getting near my black pants because I know what's going to happen. So
the grey areas, we project how we would react into it. Now, that's dangerous in a lot of facets because we're not you.
Yeah.
I'm not you. So I can only speak for myself about my frame, how I see myself working, which is my map.
Yeah.
And that map's based on the perceptions. So it's all coming together, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So now the frame's also built and made more colourful when we understand people's boundaries, because that'll also put in limits of what happens in that particular frame. So boundaries are very important to communicate.
Yeah. And I guess I see boundaries, or our own personal boundaries, as the way that we help people to fill in their frame for us, rather than just relying on their observation powers, because they may not be observing very much. They might be someone who just assumes, projects, and thinks that other people are like them.
Actually, and most people do.
Yeah, a little anecdote. I used to do training into industry, and I remember vividly one day I was training a group of people in a manufacturing facility, and one of the guys had this revelation. He said, "You mean other people don't think the same way I do.
Really? True.
I reckon he was pushing 60, and I was just like, oh my goodness. Somehow we'd managed to get through the world, and I'd imagine his frames of people got filled in very quickly, full of projections. We don't like gaps. We don't like pictures with missing pieces. And
So we fill it in with
so
our own
we,
blurry
yeah.
assumptions.
Yeah, and the way that we can avoid doing that, and certainly the way we can avoid doing that as a mediator, is to ask questions. Ask your questions.
Ask the
Don't
question.
assume. If you don't know and you think, oh, it must be. So if you hear yourself, you're the sort of person who hears yourself talking in your head. Hopefully it's not just me. Well, those sorts of comments, those are there telling
They're
yourself that you're
assumptions.
making an assumption.
Exactly.
I think if you're hearing, I think, when we're assessing mediators, when we hear them saying, I think this or I think that, you just, no, nobody cares what you think. Ask them.
Questions are very powerful because it helps fill in the little pieces into this frame of a person. It's based on the map of that person, which is based on perceptions.
Yeah.
Just one thing building on the other as we're going through this.
Yeah.
So frames are very important because everyone we put into a frame of some description, not in our mind put them in a picture frame, but it is basically that.
Yeah, absolutely. And in normal healthy development, parents help children to learn how to do this and how to create accurate pictures of the people around them. But for some people, that's not that easy. Once again, it could be because of unpredictability of someone. Creating a picture is a bit of a static thing. So it relies to a degree on people being predictable. If someone, in the same situation is likely to behave in very different ways without any apparent reason, it can make it very hard.
How many times have you heard the words, oh, we had a misunderstanding?
Yeah. Yep.
What is a misunderstanding? A misunderstanding is where my frame is incomplete and I'm projecting my values into that frame and it's not the values of that person. Oh, we had a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
So how do you stop misunderstandings? Ask the question.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So is it okay if I bring my cat over today? My shedding Siamese cat, can I bring it over today for you,
that I'm
Jodie?
deathly allergic to. No.
Okay, so I won't bring the cat over.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not a cat lady.
No, I do like cats. I was just being,
Yeah.
I was just role playing with you.
Asking the question, you don't assume, and if you don't, and therefore you don't have that misunderstanding happening.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you don't, I say, oh, I'm going to bring my cat, and I just say, no, you can't bring your cat, Ken. Leave your home. But I don't give you the extra information of I'm really allergic. I'll just break out in hives if.
Or that Bruce may be very antisocial with
Yes,
cats.
that's right. Yes. Bruce loves cats, doesn't
Especially
even need any relish on them. Yeah.
Fricasseed, marinated,
Yeah. So probably not the safest thing to, So there's a lot of reasons why not. But yeah, if I put my boundary, I say, look, I really don't like cats.
Because I'm allergic to them,
Yeah,
or my dog
or whatever.
will eat them, whatever.
Yeah. You've got your picture. Okay. Don't bring my cat. Don't share cat pictures with Jo. She's not going to like them.
So therefore, the little jigsaw puzzle piece that goes into your frame that I've got of you will show no cats.
No cats.
Yeah, otherwise, I'm projecting that you love cats.
Because everyone loves cats, surely.
Well, I prefer puppies, but that's...
But anyway, yeah. And so boundaries, setting our boundaries, letting people know what is and isn't okay for us is a really good way of helping them to get a complete picture. So in a relationship, this is ideally what we're doing. The challenge is that often, particularly at the start of a relationship, people drop their boundaries. They want to be everything to their new partner. They don't want to be awkward or difficult.
Reminds me of the platinum rule.
The platinum rule, yeah.
Because that would fit here in this particular discussion perfectly.
Yeah.
Now, we all know what the golden rule is, don't we? That is, do unto others as have wished done unto yourself, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The platinum rule is slightly different. It's do unto others as they have wished to be done unto them.
Yeah. That's
Now
right.
people go, really? That's a bit...
Yeah, or if we want to modernise the language, treat other people as they want to be treated.
Exactly. Now, to
And
give an example, this is generalisations and exceptions to every generalisation. I know that. So there's the qualification. But generally, when you've got a man and a woman in a relationship, when a woman gets sick, she wants to be left alone.
yeah.
Generally. And when a guy gets sick, generally, he wants to be babied.
Yep.
Now, if you're the woman and your husband's sick and you say to yourself, I want to be left alone, so therefore golden rule, I'll leave him alone, instantly going through his mind is, oh my God, she's left me here to die.
That's right. They'll
Now
find
reverse the roles,
dried
reverse the
out
roles.
course. Yeah, yeah.
The wife's sick and the husband says, okay, when I get sick, I want to be baby. So he's in there fluffing the pillows, bringing in snacks and never
Yeah.
leaving her alone. Before there's going to be an explosion there happening, similar sort of thing, because they're not getting what they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So communication is core. If I get sick, I'd prefer to be not baby, but looked in on occasion and, make a coffee or something.
Yeah.
But if you want to get sick, well, and you don't want to do anything, fine. Just give me a hoy if you do need something.
Absolutely.
Then there's no conflict.
Yeah. And look, just to take this slightly off skew a little bit, definitions come into here as well. The way someone defines any emotive or intangible concept can be very different. So love is a classic example. So for some
love languages.
Yeah, can be love languages, so how people want to be treated or just what it means to them. For some people, love might mean treating people the way they want to be treated and thinking that what's important to them is important. For others, by their behaviour, it probably means something quite different.
I'll mention here a little personal anecdote. I've always been a person who's thought flowers are a waste of money.
Yeah, cut flowers, no.
You buy some flowers, you give them to the person, 24 hours later, there's petals all over the place and they end up in the bin.
Yeah.
What a waste that is. I prefer to save up a few of these expenditures on flowers, not buying flowers, and buy a tennis bracelet or something.
Yeah.
Something which will last forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought that's a more logical way of looking at it. You've got an asset which is valuable. It's going to be a permanent reminder of love and what have you, rather than something that ends up in the bin. I thought, what a great idea. I was, a little while ago, a few years ago actually, I was going out with this woman and one day I was a knock on the door. I opened the door and there's a bunch of flowers for me from her.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blew my brain. It really did. I mean, in a positive way, not a negative way, a positive way, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I've never had flowers given to me before. And I was like, oh my God. And I became so special and so valued. I then instantly learned the value of flowers to give flowers.
Yeah.
Before it was logical, cool, calm, collect, logical, flowers die, tennis bracelets don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah.
When I got the flowers for the very first time in my life, it was like, oh my God.
That's a great example.
It just blew my mind. It really did. And so I'm not so hesitant on giving flowers these days.
Exactly.
But I still do prefer the tennis bracelet idea, but I'm not hesitant on flowers.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you know that someone really gets that joy and pleasure out of it, then that's fine. It doesn't always have to be practical. Or it doesn't have to be your view of or our
frame or my bed.
Exactly.
It's not this. And when it happened in reverse to me, it was honestly a shock.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so in mediation, we ask, people often say, I want to be treated with respect. That's a really, really common thing. But what that means can vastly vary. We've even had conversations about what that means in terms of organisational values. So it's really important as a mediator when these sorts of values laden words are bandied around that we ask, what does that mean? Can you give an example to Ken how you would know that he was treating you with respect? That sort of thing can bring so much valuable information, fill in people's frames for them.
Yeah.
And if they do have an intention of goodwill, then, it will help them to change the way they're behaving.
Take any word, not just respect any other word. Like, I'm not going to give an example, just think of a word. If I believe that to mean this and you believe it to mean something else, we're both using it,
Mm.
then I'm going to have a total misunderstanding of what you're meaning because I'm taking it this way.
Yeah.
And I think that's good for me. And you're
Yeah.
taking it your way, good for you. And it can't be good for both. It's not in this particular case. It could be as a win-lose rather than a mutual gain. And I can then go, no, that's not what I meant. We meant this.
Yeah.
We've got an argument over the definition of a word.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why in mediation, we need to reality test. We need to be observing and looking. They're saying things, right? But it's just doesn't quite feel like they're in alignment. So you're going to have to, really reality test. What does this look like? How does that work? All of those questions we use. The five W's we'll do in another session. One of your favorites, Ken. Which, because it's quite easy for people to use the same words but mean something very different.
Exactly. Yeah. But we can interact with each other with our own definitions for some time without any conflict until it gets the nitty-gritty on it, then bang.
Yeah. And in mediation, we're usually working towards an agreement where people have to do something. And if we don't resolve these frame issues, these perception issues, then they're going to come out of the mediation with a lovely agreement, go out and do what they think is what's been agreed, and then be really upset because the other person in their mind has reneged on the agreement and isn't following through, where they might completely feel like they are.
That's also, I teach a lot in the mediation agreement writing, is to do the 6 W's heavily in that area.
Yeah.
The 6th one is who's going to do what, when, and all the rest. So you need this information so detailed, there's no way you can misunderstand it.
Yeah, absolutely. So takeaway from this session
is that our frames that we have of other people, we've got to be very careful that we don't fill it with our own projections because that can cause misunderstandings.
Yeah, absolutely. How do I know that? It can be a really good question to ask yourself. This person, whatever, how do I know that? Oh, because I observed them, or they told me, or doesn't everybody? That if it's a doesn't everybody, then probably not.
A wise person once said to me, never listen to a person's words, view their actions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely need to calibrate by behaviour. We do need to listen to their words, but we calibrate by behaviour because the words may not necessarily, they might be lying to themselves, which we all do. We all set intentions. Oh, I'm going to do this, that, and the other, and there's no possible way you're going to be able to do that.
Sure, I can help you move. Sure, I can help you move. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, that rush of blood that just doesn't. Yeah, the mind is willing, but the body is weak, or whatever.
I know.
Those frames, and we can help by setting our boundaries, by being clear about what is and isn't acceptable, so that people can put an accurate frame around us that helps to smooth out that relationship and how it works.
One last thought I have is that with to do with frames, projections, perceptions, everything that we've been discussing up to date, it's all our view of how things are. And it's not necessarily reality.
No, it's not reality. And they're always going to be wrong because the map is not the territory, but they are helpful. And we need to be mindful of being willing to adjust always. Yeah, that's the only constant is change. And we need to be very mindful of that, and unless we want to spend all our time trying to make people be what they're not, which is a very difficult work.
Yeah. That's also another issue with relationships too, if you're trying to improve the other person.
Yeah. Good raw material, I'll rip them into shape.
Yeah. And guess what happens when one or two things happen. Either you don't and they get upset and that's the end of the relationship, or B, you actually achieve it and go, yeah, I don't like that, end of relationship.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it just doesn't it doesn't work. It's better to get a picture of who and why someone is the way they are. So
Closer to reality.
closer to reality. So once again, we'll be putting this out as a podcast on the Mediator Musings podcast, and you can come to the Mediator Musings Facebook group to comment, share if you've got some other ways of talking about frames that might help others to understand the concept. Please do come and share. And also, if you have any other concepts that you'd like us to talk about or you'd like to be part of the conversation, please get in touch. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to follow the podcast so that you can be notified of the latest episodes. And come and find us on Facebook. Search for Mediator Musing. You can share your thoughts about this episode and any other insights that you have about the art and science of mediation. You can also ask questions and give us prompts for future episodes. Come and find us on Mediator Musing group on Facebook. See you soon.